I should have known better than to trust the data. 20 cycles. 20 cycles I'd been stationed at Observation Post Theta 9, monitoring the human colony on Dracon 5, and in all that time, not once, had they given us reason for concern. They followed protocols. They paid their taxes. They even sent us gift baskets during our equivalent of winter holidays, which honestly, kind of thoughtful. My name is Vexthor, and I'm what you might call, was, a mid-level bureaucrat for the Galactic Compliance Bureau. Emphasis on the was part, because what I'm about to tell you changed everything. The humans on Dracon 5 were model citizens.
Perfect even.
Too perfect, some would say, but I'm not one for paranoia. Commander Zelak kept insisting something felt off about them. They're too quiet, he'd say, his 3 eye stalks twitching nervously. Too accommodating. I'd laugh. Actually laugh. What do you want them to do, Zelak? Start a war over parking violations? Oh, how wrong I was. How spectacularly, catastrophically, universe-alteringly wrong. It started 3 weeks ago when the Council passed Resolution 447B, standard stuff really. New mineral extraction quotas. The human colony had discovered massive deposits of valorium beneath their agricultural sector. Valuable stuff. The kind of valuable that makes politicians drool and accountants weep with joy. According to the resolution, 70% would go to the galactic treasury, 20% to the colony, 10% to processing fees. The humans' representative, a woman named Katie Morrison, came to the council meeting, smiled that strange way humans do, showing all their teeth. Predator display, if you ask me, but everyone always said I was being dramatic. We understand the resolution, she said, her voice calm, measured. However, we'd like to propose a counteroffer, 50-50 split, and we'll handle all processing ourselves. The council laughed. I mean, we actually laughed. Councillor Thren's voice boomed across the chamber. You misunderstand your position, human. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't a negotiation. This is compliance. Katie's smile didn't waver. I see, and if we decline, then we enforce compliance, Thren said, leaning forward. Simple as that. She nodded slowly, clasped her hands together, took a breath that seemed to last forever. Then I suppose we'll have to respectfully disagree. Respectfully disagree. Those 2 words. I replay them in my mind constantly now, wondering if I could have done something, said something, anything. The council issued the standard enforcement order. We dispatched the 7th Fleet, 3 battlecruisers, 12 frigates, 40 support vessels. Standard overwhelming force protocol. The kind of display that makes colonies reconsider their stubbornness real quick. Captain Horvis commanded the flagship. The inevitable Justice, ridiculous name. But humans aren't the only ones with a flair for drama. He sent the standard hail as they entered Dracon 5's orbit. Human colony. This is Captain Horvis, of the Galactic Compliance Bureau. You have 6 hours to accept Resolution 447B. Failure to comply will result in seizure of disputed assets and arrest of colonial leadership. This is your only warning. The response came immediately. Katie Morrison again, still smiling. Still so calm it made my scales itch. Captain Horvis, we appreciate your dedication to procedure, but we really must insist you reconsider. Turn your fleet around. Go home. Nobody needs to get hurt today. Horvis actually chuckled. I was monitoring the communication channel, heard it myself. Miss Morrison, you have 40 colonists and maybe 24 farming mechs. I have enough firepower to glass your entire continent. I think you're the one who needs to reconsider. Silence. Long, stretching silence that felt heavier than neutronium. Then Katie spoke again, and something in her voice had changed. Subtly, like the temperature dropped before a storm. Very well, Captain. You were warned. Remember that. You were given every opportunity to walk away. The channel closed. Horvis deployed landing craft, standard extraction teams, 300 trained soldiers in powered armor, backed by aerial support and artillery, against 40 farmers. I watched it all unfold from my monitoring station, feeling increasingly uneasy. Zelek stood beside me, all 3 eyes fixed on the screens. Something's wrong, he whispered. They're surrendering, I said, trying to convince myself. Look, they're not even organizing defenses. The landing craft touched down in the main settlement square, soldiers deployed in textbook formation, and the humans, The humans just stood there, watching, waiting. Lieutenant Vexnell led the ground team. His voice crackled through the command. Subjects appear non-hostile. Moving to secure the mining facility. That's when everything went sideways. The first explosion wasn't even in the settlement. It was in orbit. One of our frigates just detonated. No warning, no missile launch, no energy signature. Just there 1 second. Cosmic debris the next. Corvus started shouting orders. But before he could finish, 2 more ships exploded. Then another. Then 3, simultaneously. Evasive maneuvers. Corvus screamed. Return fire. Where are they shooting from? Nowhere. Everywhere. The humans on the ground hadn't moved. Hadn't raised a weapon. Just stood there with those predator smiles. On the surface, Vexnell's team suddenly found themselves surrounded. Not by farmers. By soldiers. Real soldiers, appearing from absolutely nowhere, wearing armor that made our best tech look like children's toys. They moved like liquid death, and in seconds, the entire extraction team was disarmed and restrained. Katie Morrison's voice filled every channel simultaneously, bypassing our encryption like it was decorative wrapping paper. Gentlemen, ladies, and honored representatives of the Galactic Compliance Bureau, allow me to reintroduce ourselves. We are not colonists. We are the 3rd Expeditionary Reconnaissance Division of the Human Defense Initiative, and you have just made a terrible, terrible mistake. In orbit, the fleet was in complete chaos. Ships exploding, weapons offline, communication systems hijacked. Corvus kept screaming for status reports, getting only static and terror in response. You thought we were dangerous when we were playing nice? Katie continued, and I could hear the smile in her voice, that predator smile. You thought this was humanity at full strength. Oh, sweet summer children of the galaxy. You haven't seen anything yet. The inevitable justice lurched violently. Corvus stumbled, catching himself on his command console. Engineering. Status. Propulsion offline. Weapons offline. Sir, they're inside our systems. They've been inside our systems the entire time. Katie's laugh echoed through the bridge, warm and terrifying. Did you really think we spent 20 cycles baking you cookies and filing paperwork because we liked filling out forms? We were learning, studying, mapping every single one of your weaknesses. And oh friends, you have so many weaknesses. I watched my screens in horror as the mighty 7th Fleet, pride of the Compliance Bureau, was systematically dismantled by an enemy that apparently didn't need to fire a single shot from the surface. The humans had seeded every ship with infiltration programs, hardware exploits, and what their military apparently called aggressive negotiation protocols. Corvus finally managed to croak out a single word. How? Katie's voice turned contemplative. 20 cycles ago, when we first arrived, you gave us complete access to your systems. Standard colonial integration protocols. Remember, you let us into your networks, your supply chains, your communication grids. You trusted us because we smiled and said please and thank you. Because we acted weak, harmless, safe. Another explosion. Another ship gone. Here's something about Deathworlders, Captain. We don't just survive hostile environments. We become the hostile environment. And you invited us into your house, gave us the keys, and expected us to play by your rules forever. The remaining ships were dead in space now. Not destroyed, disabled. Crews alive but completely helpless, floating in their own vessels like prisoners in expensive coffins. Now, Katie said, and her voice dropped to something cold and sharp. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to the Council. You're going to tell them exactly what happened here. And you're going to deliver our actual terms. A data packet flooded our systems. I pulled it up, hands trembling. Draken 5 declares independence, effective immediately. All Valorium extraction will be managed by human companies, with 0% allocated to the galactic treasury. We will, however, generously offer to sell refined Valorium at market rates. How kind of us, right? Corvus looked like he'd aged a century in minutes. The Council will never accept this. They'll send everything. The entire combined fleet will find itself in the same situation as you, Katie interrupted. Only with much higher casualties. Because here's the thing, Captain. We weren't the only ones playing nice. There are 73 human colonies across your precious galactic union. Every single one of them has been doing exactly what we've been doing. Learning, preparing, waiting, silence. The kind of silence that swallows hope whole. You wanted to see true Deathworlders. Katie's laugh was gentle, almost kind. Almost. Congratulations. Class is now in session. The comm channels went dark. The fleet sat motionless in orbit, and I sat at my monitoring station, understanding with perfect crystal clarity that nothing would ever be the same again. Zilek looked at me, all three eyes wide with something between terror and awe. What do we do? I stared at the screens, at the shattered remnants of our certainty, our superiority, our comfortable universe. We run, I whispered. We run, and we pray they let us. The council chamber had never been this quiet. I stood at the witness podium, every eye in the gallery fixed on me like I was some kind of exotic specimen, which I suppose I was. The bureaucrat, who survived Dracon 5, the one who watched humanity shed its mask and show the galaxy what Deathworlders truly meant. 3 days had passed since the incident. 3 days of emergency sessions, panic broadcasts, and frantic military assessments. The 7th Fleet limped back to port battered and humiliated but miraculously intact. Katie Morrison had kept her word. No casualties. Just a demonstration. A demonstration. Counselor Thren leaned forward in his seat, his bulk creating shadows across the floor. Let me understand this correctly. Observer Vexter, you're telling us that 40 farmers destroyed an entire battle fleet. They weren't farmers, I said, my voice barely steady. They were never farmers. They were soldiers, specialists. Every human colony we've been monitoring for the past 20 cycles has been staffed by their military intelligence divisions. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Yara, the Syrian representative, raised one delicate appendage. Impossible. Our screening protocols are foolproof. We would have detected military personnel. I almost laughed. Would have if my career wasn't already circling the drain. Respectfully, Counselor, they wanted to be detected as colonists. They passed every screening because they're that good at being whatever they need to be. And while we were congratulating ourselves on integrating these peaceful settlers, they were mapping our entire infrastructure. The gallery erupted. Shouts. Accusations. Demands for proof. Grand Arbiter Kelvin slammed his resonance staff 3 times, the deep thrums finally restoring order. Show us, he commanded. I activated the holographic display. 73 red points appeared across the galactic map. Every human colony, every peaceful farming community, research outpost and trade hub, all of them glowing like warning beacons. These are confirmed human military installations, I said. Not settlements. Installations. Each one has been systematically infiltrated into our networks. Power grids, communication arrays, defense platforms. They've had backdoor access to everything for years. Counselor Thren's face darkened to purple. Absurd. Our cybersecurity divisions would have. Your cybersecurity divisions were trained by human consultants. I interrupted, pulling up the records. The Terran Technology Exchange Program. Remember that? 5 years ago, we invited human experts to help modernize our systems, improve efficiency, strengthen defenses against piracy. The color drained from Thren's face. All 3 of his chins quivered. They didn't strengthen anything, I continued. They installed trapdoors, vulnerabilities disguised as security features, and we paid them for the privilege. Grand Arbiter Kelvin's voice cut through the stunned silence. What are their demands? I pulled up the document Katie Morrison had transmitted, watched it project across every screen in the chamber. Full autonomy for all 73 colonies. 0 taxation, 0 tribute, 0 interference. In exchange, they'll maintain trade relationships and continue selling refined resources at negotiated rates. Extortion. Thren spat. Negotiation. I corrected. They could have destroyed the 7th Fleet, could have started hitting our core worlds right now, while we're sitting here debating semantics. Instead, they're offering terms. Generous terms considering what they could demand. Yora's voice was soft. Dangerous. And if we refuse, the hologram shifted. New data cascaded across the screens. Fleet positions, supply routes, command structures. Everything laid bare, every secret exposed. Then they demonstrate that Dracon 5 wasn't a fluke, I said quietly. Katie Morrison was very clear. The 7th Fleet engagement was them being gentle. A warning shot. They wanted us to understand the situation without forcing them to actually hurt anyone. How considerate, Thren sneered. It is actually. I snapped back, surprising myself. Because the alternative is watching them systematically dismantle our entire military infrastructure without leaving port. They don't need ships to fight us, Counselor. They're already inside our ships, inside our stations, inside everything we built and trusted to protect us. Admiral Kess stood from her position in the military gallery. We have contingencies, isolated networks, quantum encrypted systems that cannot be compromised. I pulled up another file. You mean the Omega Defense Network, the one your engineers installed last year using components from Terran Manufacturing Solutions? That network. Tess sat down. They've been planning this for decades, I said, letting the weight of it settle over the chamber. Before they even sent their first colonist, before they made first contact. Humans don't explore the galaxy because they're curious. They explore it because they're strategic. Every handshake was reconnaissance. Every trade deal was intelligence gathering. Every friendship was a tactical advantage. The silence stretched like a gulf between stars. Grand Arbiter Kelvin finally spoke. What would you have us do, Observer Vexthor? I took a breath, steadied myself. Accept their terms. Immediately. Publicly. And then start the real negotiation. Explain. Humans didn't do all this just to win independence for 73 colonies. They did it to announce themselves, to prove they belong at the big table. They want respect, representation, actual partnership instead of being treated like primitive newcomers. I switched the display to show Earth, beautiful blue marble hanging in space, unremarkable little planet in an unremarkable system. We made a mistake, I said. We looked at their world and saw something soft, welcoming. We saw oceans and thought safety, green forests and thought peace, pretty skies and thought weakness. The image zoomed closer, showed the scars, hurricane tracks, tectonic boundaries, volcanic ranges, radiation zones, extreme temperature gradients, all the violence hidden under that pretty surface. We forgot that Earth is a death world, a real one, not some marginal hazard rating like most species claim for their homeworlds to sound tough. Earth actively tries to kill everything living on it, has been for billions of years, and humanity didn't just survive it. They thrived, spread across their entire planet, conquered it completely. I looked around the chamber, meeting eyes, making sure they understood. And then they got bored and came looking for new challenges. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we invited into our civilization. A species that treats apocalyptic disasters as background noise. That builds cities in earthquake zones for fun. That considers radiation exposure an acceptable workplace hazard. Admiral Kess found her voice again. Are you suggesting we simply surrender to their demands? I'm suggesting we recognize reality. I said. We're not surrendering. We're adapting. The old power structure is dead. Draken 5 killed it. Now we either accept humans as equals and build something new together, or we fight a war we absolutely cannot win. Thren slammed his appendage against his desk. Unacceptable. We are the Galactic Union. We have stood for 12,000 years. We will not bow to these upstart primitives, who discovered faster than light travel 5 minutes ago. Then you'll watch the Union crumble, I said flatly. Because every species watching this debate is doing the math, wondering if they should renegotiate their own relationship with the Council. The humans just proved that the Union's power is an illusion. One good push, and the whole structure collapses. Guards, Thren commanded. Remove this coward from Med. Counselor Thren. Grand Arbiter Kelvin's voice cracked like thunder. You will sit down now. Thren froze, slowly lowered himself back into his seat. Kelvin turned to me. You've spoken with Morrison. What's your assessment? Will they actually negotiate in good faith, or is this just the first step in a conquest? I thought about Katie's smile. Her calm voice, the way she'd systematically dismantled our fleet without killing a single soul. Honestly, I think they're hoping we'll choose partnership. Everything they've done suggests they want to trade, cooperate, share technology. But they'll only do it as equals, not as subjects. Not as junior members waiting for approval from species who treat them like children. And if we refuse, then we find out what humanity looks like when it stops playing nice entirely. I gestured to the hologram. This was their warning, their way of saying we could hurt you but we'd rather not. If we force their hand, we'll discover exactly how creative Deathworlders can be when they're actually trying to win. The chamber fell silent again. I could see calculations happening behind every set of eyes. Political equations being rebalanced. power dynamics shifting in real time. Finally, Grand Arbiter Kelvin stood. We will vote. Full autonomy for human colonies and renegotiation of their status within the Union. All in favor. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was overwhelming. Thren stared at the results in disbelief. You're making a mistake. Giving them everything they want will only embolden them. No, I said quietly. Trying to maintain an illusion of dominance we never actually had would have been the mistake. This way at least we have a chance to build something real. The transmission activated. Katie Morrison's face appeared on every screen, still smiling. But this time there was genuine warmth in it. Grand Arbiter Kelvin, she said. I hope you're calling with good news. The Council has voted to accept your terms, Representative Morrison. We look forward to negotiating humanity's full integration into the Union as equal members. Her smile widened. Excellent. I'll inform the other colony administrators. I think you'll find we can be quite cooperative when treated with respect. I suspect we'll be learning a great deal about cooperation in the coming months, Kelvin replied dryly. Indeed you will. Katie's expression softened slightly. For what it's worth, Arbiter, we genuinely don't want conflict. We just needed you to understand that we won't accept being anyone's subjects. Not after everything we've survived to get here. Message received. Loud and clear. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted in conversation, argument, speculation. I stood at the podium, watching it all, feeling oddly calm. Zelak appeared at my side. Think they'll honor the agreement? Yes, I said. Because that's what they wanted all along. They're not conquerors, they're survivors. And survivors know that partnerships are stronger than empires. You sound almost hopeful. I looked at the hologram of Earth, spinning peacefully in the display. Such a beautiful, terrible world. Maybe I am. The Union's been stagnant for centuries. Comfortable, complacent. Maybe we needed someone to shake things up. Remind us that the galaxy doesn't owe us dominance. And if you're wrong, if they decide equal partnership isn't enough. I thought about Katie Morrison's calm voice, her surgical precision, the way she'd orchestrated everything without spilling a drop of blood. Then we pray they remember that we chose peace when we could have chosen pride, I said. And we hope that Deathworlders appreciate species that learn from their mistakes. Zolak's three eyes studied me. The Council's going to demote you for this. Maybe worse. Probably. I started gathering my materials. But I'll sleep better knowing I told the truth. That counts for something. As I left the chamber, I caught one last glimpse of Earth on the display. Humanity's cradle. Their forge. The world that taught them to be unkillable. And now they were here. In our space. Part of our civilization, whether we liked it or not. Welcome to the new galaxy, I thought, where the humans finally stopped pretending, and honestly, after 20 cycles of watching them fake being harmless, I couldn't wait to see what they could do when they were actually trying to build something instead of hiding. The future was going to be absolutely terrifying, and possibly magnificent. Time would tell which one we deserved.